Hey everybody, welcome. Frank Raffele here, and welcome to my session for today. This is a small business and sales professional session called Frank's Razor Sharp Marketing. We're going to be talking today about how to really get your marketing to be much more effective. Before I do that, let me introduce myself a little bit. I own a franchise for BNI. I've been a BNI executive director for over 25 years. I've also had my own consulting and training company for about 30 years now. I work with small business, medium-sized businesses all around the globe, the United States, all throughout Asia, Europe, pretty much you name it, I've probably been there, working with business owners from all around the world. Before we get started, if you could do me a favor when you get here, when you sign in, if you could please just put the city and or country where you're watching from. It gives us an idea of who's on board. You'll also see as I go along, if you have questions, please type your questions in caps. That way, one, I know it's a question, not just a comment, and two, it's easier for me to read. I am getting older, so I need the glasses. And what I'm probably going to do is at the end, I'm going to come back to all the questions and answer them then, versus as I go along, because I'm here kind of doing it by myself, so it's hard to do both. So that's what today's all about. So today's really focused for the small business owner and the sales professional, and how do we make our marketing more effective? How do we get better results? And we do that with what we call razor sharp marketing. Let me explain what that means. Most people I know who own small businesses or sales professionals, when they're looking for clients, they love to take the shotgun approach, right? And the shotgun approach is, let me see, go out there and put my name out there and market to as many people as I can, let as many people see my name as possible, and then I'll get some clients out of it. Usually doesn't work that way. They tend to be very disappointed. And when we do marketing, we understand that there's two things that we invest in marketing: time or energy, or both. And you'll waste both if you're not being very, very focused on what you're looking for. Now, some of you say, well, Frank, the problem is when I look at my business, virtually everybody is a potential client for me. And I realize, I go, wow, that's really incredible. And you know what? For some people, that's true. You know, my business, the Proactive Leadership Center, did you know that any single person in business today is a potential client for me? Anybody. So it could be a solopreneur sitting at home working on their business. I could possibly work with them and coach them. It could be an individual in a corporation. I could coach them and help them do what they need. I could work with a company doing leadership development, sales training, customer service, management, all those different things, because I've done all of that. So I've worked with large corporations, Fortune 1000 corporations. I work with medium-sized. I work with small businesses. And you know what? That's a bad thing. It's not a good thing. Because when you can go after everybody, what ends up happening is, well, you just don't have the budget to market to everybody. And by the way, it's a misnomer. When you say to me, yeah, but anybody, like a chiropractor, I've heard say, well, you know, anybody who wants to be healthy, anybody with a spine, that's a good client for me. Well, even though that may be true, even though any human being that's alive is a possible client for you as a chiropractor, that's not your market you're going after. You don't have that broad of a market. Everybody, anybody, somebody, that's not your market. You know what your market is? You don't have a huge market. You have many individual markets. You have many verticals. And that's really the way you have to start to think about it. If you want to make your marketing more effective, stop trying to go to everybody and try and say, who should I be focusing on? So we're going to talk today about how we can go about making that happen. I'm going to try to really give you some practical tips of what you can do. And obviously, you can watch this video again and again, or as we go along, you can take notes. So let's kind of start with that. So we say everyone's a potential client for me, and I say that's not really true. So the first thing that we have to ask when we start our marketing, there's a few questions I want you to think about right now, and I want you to write down if you would. One is, what are the demographics that you're going after? So that means, when I say demographics, I mean age, income, sex, race, religion, etc. Those type of things. Are there certain demographics that you find in your business that are better for you than others? Now, if you've been in business for 2 or 3 or more years, that means you have a history. If you have a history, it means your business is telling you right now who you should be going after. Most business owners, most sales professionals just don't look at their history. There's trends, there's patterns in your history that tell you what you should be doing. So from a demographic standpoint, you may say, I work with everybody. Everybody's potential client, from a little kid to someone, from somebody who's 9 months old to 99 years old. And you know what? That may be true, but it doesn't mean that that's where your sweet spots are. There's probably 3 or 4 demographics that are your sweet spots. And if you go and study those, it's going to help you say, okay, instead of going after all of this, I can bring it down a little bit closer, because now you can spend your marketing dollars more to the people or the demographics that are going to be better than you based on your history, based on where you've already made money. Okay. Second is problem, right? So what is the problem that you solve? What is the problem most people come in for? And you could say, well, depending on your business, I solve a lot of different problems. There's like, if I'm, again, I use the chiropractor as this, for instance, somebody could have neck pain or back pain, or they could have shoulder pain, or they could have tight muscles. Like, there's all different things they can do. And I get that. They could have headaches. Okay. But again, in your history, in your business, it's telling you what the most common problem people come in for. And you have probably two things you want to look at. The people that come in most often for that problem, like what do the customers come in most often for? And secondly is, what are the people that spend the most on certain problems? There's some problems that are bigger profit centers for you. So people may not come in as much for it, but when they come in, it's a bigger ticket item. They spend more on that, and maybe they come in more consistently, or they buy more, or whatever your services or product. And the other one is that they're doing it more consistent. So look at that. What problem do you solve, and what problems are people coming in for? Third, common interest. That's another marketing angle. Common interest would be people who love running or run outdoor exercise, for an example. That's a common interest. It's not a problem there. It's not necessarily a demographic we're looking for, but what you're saying is, well, if I go after people who have this common interest, that tends to work for me. Again, a history of your business and knowing the client base that's coming in and buying from you will help you know what the common interests are, and that you go after those groups or target markets better. Next one would be emotional turmoil. What emotional turmoil might be going on in someone's life that drives them to you? That's something that's really important that you have to do, because when you're looking at emotional turmoil, you're looking at, it could be something like divorce. It could be something like a death in someone's family. Whatever it might be, you really have to look at that and decide what is it that's most important to you, okay, in your business going forward that way. And the final thing would be geographic location. When you're looking at geographic location, meaning what is the area that you want to be doing business within? Is it within 5, 10, 15 miles of your current location, or is it across the country or around the world? And that's really what you have to be looking at, is what is the geographic location and going forward. So those are 5 to start to limit down what you're looking at in terms of marketing going forward. Why is this important? Because we have to understand that people buy emotionally, but they always justify the buy intellectually. So what that means is the more that you start to understand your market, the more you can get to understand their emotions of why they're going to buy, why they're going to listen or tune into your marketing. And if you can do that, now it can become much more powerful for you. Your marketing can become much more successful for you when you're doing that. Okay, so these things are important to start to understand. And so your product may be useful to many different audiences. Remember, I talked before, you said, well, I can go to anybody. And by the way, that may be true. But the way you want to look at it is not that everybody in the world is a client, that you have clients or prospects in certain vertical markets. Because when you can start to verticalize them, if you will, start to put them in those certain categories, you can market to them more effectively, right? You can now go in and saying, okay, well, these people have these problems, think about these type of things, and now you can market more successfully. So instead of me, let's say I was going to spend $1,000 a month on marketing. I'm just picking a number out. Okay, I could spend $1,000 on shotgun marketing, or what I could take is those $1,000 and maybe say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend $200 on 5 different markets a month and penetrate those markets more, those verticals, and get myself more well known and make my advertising, my marketing that much more effective, because I'm sending 5 different messages out. Even if it's for the same product or same service, people will buy it for their own reasons, right? That's what becomes really important. This is where we start to get razor sharp in our marketing. So let me give you an example. Let's talk about a weight loss pill. One of the reasons that it's like $1 billion industry, everybody's looking at that. So let's just assume that you sell a weight loss pill. So whatever you sell, just pretend right now it's a weight loss pill, okay? And so you're saying, well, I say to you, okay, well, who are you? Who's your market? Well, Anybody who wants to lose weight. No, anybody. They could be 300 pounds overweight or 20 pounds overweight or 50 pounds overweight. Anybody who wants to lose weight can use my weight loss pill. You know what? You're probably right. Probably true. Okay. But are you going to go and just sell the weight loss pill to anybody? Is that what you're going to end up doing? Just go to anybody in the world and start to market to them? So let's think about that. So let's think about, okay, so I'm sitting in New York. That's America. That means we have, I think, about 350 million people in this country, if I remember right, somewhere around there. And we know that about 70% of the people in the United States are considered overweight. 70%. So 350, I believe that is, I think I wrote it down, I think about 245 million people in this country consider themselves or are overweight. Now, there's some of those people who don't care and don't want to do anything about it, and there's some who do care and want to do something about it. So let's even just say, for argument's sake, let's say half don't care and half do care. So that's about another 120 million people. So your market now for your weight loss pill is 120 million people. How do you market to 120 million people? You know how you market? You don't. You don't market to 120 million people because it's just too big an audience. You can't do that. You can't go out and, well, unless you have the budget of like PepsiCo or Coca-Cola or something, you can't market. I'm going to assume that you're a small business owner, a sales professional. You're probably selling more regionally, or if you're selling across the country, around the world, there's certain target markets you want to go after. So let's think about some questions that we need to ask to limit down who we're going to go after so we can make our marketing more effective. And by going to less people or more focused verticals, we'll actually get more sales, not less. So I'm going to give you some questions. You ready? Number one, how far of a distance do you want to build your business within? Okay, so again, as I said before, is it a 15, 25 mile radius, 3 hours, the East Coast, across the country, or around the world? That's the first thing you have to decide. Second, what are what I call the low-hanging fruit in your targets? What I mean by that are, what are those people that come and buy from you, that you notice that come into your office, into your place of business, that when you go out and do sales, they're the ones that are buying a lot. Again, if you have a business that has a few years history, you have some type of trend or pattern going on there. When you have a pattern, the business is telling you what you should be doing. So you've got to recognize that, or who are the people that usually buy from you? What do they have in common? Even though let's say you looked at 100 different customers and you say, well, there's nothing in common. I bet you there is. I bet you if you really study it, you're going to see that there's something that they have in common that all of a sudden you're saying, wait a minute. You know, is it their sex? Is it their religion? Is it their age? Is it their profession? Whatever it might be, see what are the low-hanging fruit, the people that buy from you on a regular basis. Next question, who is the most profitable to sell to? So when you see your most profitable sales, what do you see about those people? What makes them different? Is it because they have more money? They make more money than others? Are they in certain professions, certain industries? Do they live in a certain area? Are they at a certain point in their life? Are they just young people getting married? Are they people that are divorced? Are they people that are getting on in their golden age, if you will? What are the things about those people? Who are the people that are most profitable for you? Okay. Who will buy the most consistently? Think about your product or service and who is the type of customer that will buy it most consistently, meaning over and over again, assuming you have that type of product. Who are those people? Next, who will recommend to a friend? Have you had that in place yet? Have you had people that have, after they've used you or purchased from you, they've recommended other people to come? And if so, who have those people been? Not just happy customers, there's certain types of people. Here's one thing that I'll pretty much guarantee you. For the most part, women will tend to recommend you more than men will, okay? Women are incredible networkers. They talk to each other more about that. They talk about shopping, and this is not my opinion, by the way. This is statistics that we have that shows that women are better networkers, and they'll actually recommend you more than a man will. So I don't know if that's true in your business, but that's generally how it works, okay? Who will make a quick decision? So when you're selling to people, who do you find makes a quicker decision than others? Who comes in and says, yep, I'm going to buy, I'm going to do it? Who's the person that needs to think for a while, going through that? What do you know about those people? So think about who are those audience, those target market in that audience that make quick decisions. Next, who has the greatest motivation to buy? Who has the greatest motivation to buy? Think about your product or service. Think about what it does for people. think about the different problems it solves for different people, and then think about who's the most motivated to buy that. We're going to talk a little more about that in a second. But that's really important, because when when somebody's motivated, they're going to react quicker, they're going to come in and buy it faster, they're probably going to buy more quantity than somebody else, probably buy it more consistently, and probably recommend you out to somebody. So with people who are motivated to buy your product or service, the people you can help most, that's some great people to get in front of and to be marketing to. And then who has the disposable income to buy your product or service? Right? So what are those markets that you're looking at, and who are those people that can actually afford your product or your service? You know, it's not that you want to go against people who aren't, but you don't want to, as a salesperson or a business owner, you don't want to be spending time in front of people who can't buy from you. If you meet people who can't buy them, maybe there's somebody else you can recommend them to, and that's fine. But it's not good business to try and push your product or services on people that really can't afford it. You don't want to do that to anybody. You just also don't want to waste their time, and you don't want to waste your time as a business professional. And I mean that with all due respect. Okay? So let's go back for a second about these weight loss pill. Let's use that example. Weight loss pill consumers. So I have this weight loss pill. The consumers, as we said, are like 70% of people in the United States are overweight. And that's about 245 million people. So half of them is 120 or so million people. So if that's who I'm going after, and I want to start to limit it down, who is it that really wants to buy my product? Let me give you an example. So I'm going to give you 15 different types of audiences that would buy vitamin pills. Kids, parents is number 2. Athletes, health conscious individuals, number 3. Number 4, elderly or grandparents. Number 5, people with heart conditions. Number 6, people with diabetes. Number 7, people with joint pain. Number 8, people with knee pain, right? Because you have weight, your joints are going to start to give out. Number 9, people with hip pain. Number 10, people with low energy. They're not in great shape. They have extra weight. They want to get more energy. Number 11, women 30 to 50 years old. Okay. Number 12, women 51 to 75 years old. Number 13, men 40 plus. They're on that downswing. They need more energy now. Number 14, business owners who feel like I've got to stay healthy. I can't be away from my business. And 15, sales professionals. So you guys who are listening, business people and sales professionals who obviously don't want to take time off work, want to be out there making sales. Those are 15 different audiences that would be very likely and buy vitamins on a regular basis. 15. Well, that's not everybody in the world, right? We brought it down to 15. Isn't that great? 15? It's not really great. It's too many. It's too many. You don't have the budget. Very few of us have the budget to market to 15 different categories like that. So really we need to bring it down to what I say is like usually 4 or 5. What are 4 or 5 target markets that I can go after that I know are really going to buy more than the others? Let's start with them. And if you can build up a category and make it work, you can expand from 4 or 5 to 6 and then 7 and then 8. You can build to 15, but don't try and start with 15. Don't try and go after everybody. But that list I just gave you, how do you pick? Okay? You pick by those people that are most motivated to buy, most likely to buy. You know who those are? Number 1, athletes and people who are health conscious. Because athletes and people who are health conscious, one, are in that athletic or health conscious mindset, if you will. And so if they're trying to be athletic, they're trying to get themselves back in shape. They may even be back in shape. And a lot of those people who aren't even that much overweight take weight loss pills just to keep the weight off, even if they're trying to get there. But if they're athletes, meaning they're training on a regular basis, if they're health conscious, it means they're already looking at things like that. Those are people that are already used to spending money on things that make them better at their athletic endeavors and more healthy, right? So now you have people that are already spending money in that realm that you're in, and you can help them more. So it's not about justifying why should I spend the money. It's a matter of why with you, because they're probably already spending it maybe on other supplements, whatever else, but now why should I buy yours? But they're always looking at things to make themselves better. So that's a great audience to go after. So my other weight loss is elderly and grandparents. Why is that? Because once we hit about 50, not that I would know about this, but once we hit about 50 and we wake up in the morning with a cough, we instantly think, I have a cough. What's wrong? Do I have lung cancer? What's going on? I have throat cancer. I'm going to die, right? It's all of a sudden we get more concerned about our health, and we start looking more about supplements, and we get more concerned about our weight. So people who are getting elderly. I'm not saying 50 is elderly, by the way. 50 is very young, okay? But I'm just giving that as an example that as we get older, we start to think more about our life going in the second half of our life. So people who are 60s and 70s and 80s, right, they're going to be a little more health conscious in terms of that. And if they're grandparents, they want to be there for their grandchildren. It's a whole nother motivation in life to be around, is that you have grandkids. So that's a great motivation for them as well, is they want to be healthy. People with heart condition and people with diabetes. Those are the next two categories. Why do you think they're motivated? A lot of people that have heart conditions are overweight. A lot of people that have diabetes are overweight, okay? They need to lose the weight. They want this weight loss pill. They want to go through that. So those people that are extremely motivated, because if they have a heart condition, it means they went to the doctor and found out, okay? If they have diabetes, they went to their doctor and found out. They've got to do something about these two things. So there's 4 target markets we talked about: athletes and health conscious individuals, elderly and grandparents, right? People with heart attacks and diabetes. So if I just started my vitamin business with those 4 and just tried to penetrate those four vertical markets, get people to know me, get professionals to know me, focus on them, get people, because people who have heart conditions know other people who have heart conditions. People who have diabetes know other people who are elderly, people, etc. Athletes know other athletes. Get to be known in those industries. Show up at their networking events, their events that are going on. Advertise where they are. So now all of a sudden you can take your money and you can make it more focused. Instead of being broad shotgun, we're becoming razor sharp. We're saying, what do we need to do? And now once you kind of have the targets picked out, now what you want to do is saying, how do I reach them? What are the emotional triggers for those people? What are the emotional triggers for those people in these different categories? Right? That's a whole nother level of conversation that we don't have time for today. But that's the next step, is what is the emotional triggers that these people in these 4 categories have, and how can I reach them? How can I design it? So you're selling the exact same pill to 4 different target markets. So let's say you were put together, I'm going to go old school. Let's say I was going to put together a flyer. Okay, so I grab a piece of paper and I'm going to put together a flyer that I'm going to market out to somebody. Or maybe it's an online flyer, whatever it might be, an advertisement. All right. What are you saying, Frank? Are you saying with this pill, and I'm going to market it to these 4 different markets, that you want me to put together 4 different types of advertisements? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's exactly what I'm saying. You want to go to 4 different target markets to get them to grab on. In fact, you may even go into these target markets and make it more specific. Right? You're going to athletes and health conscious individuals. You may come up with 4 or 5 different advertisements for people of certain athletic endeavors and certain health conscious, because people think differently, right? Different types of athletes that are out there, right? Someone who's a runner, believe me, is very different than someone who plays rugby and somebody who does yoga. They have different ways of thinking. They have different emotional cues that bring them in. But when you get to know your audience, know their problems, know what motivates them, now you become an expert in that area. And now you can design things for those people. And if you're doing it locally, you can go out and get involved and let those people know that you know about them and you're there for them and whatever it is you do. And obviously I'm using the example of vitamins today, but it doesn't matter what you sell. It matters that you know your target market and you get to know them deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you do that, you now have a well that keeps giving you business. And you develop the first well and the second well and the third well and the fourth well. Now those wells are feeding you regular business. Now you have consistency. And I say, how do I grow my business? Well, you can say, I can go deeper in that well, which you can and you should, but you could also expand your wells. Now you can go to your 6th and 7th well and get those developed and take it one step at a time. Do eventually you have 15 wells, as I kind of outlined before? You could. Doesn't mean you have to. In fact, one or two of those verticals could possibly give you a business for the rest of your life. I know people who have done that. Okay, so here's what today was about. It was about getting your marketing from the shotgun approach to what I call like the sniper or razor sharp marketing. It's about understanding that if everybody is a potential business person, a potential piece of business for you, every business that's around, every person that's alive, everyone who has a car, everyone that owns a home, everyone that has kids, anything like that, that's not a true statement. The true statement is that everyone who's in that, all those everyones have different verticals that they're in. They have different demographics. They have different money that they make. They live in different areas. They buy for their own reasons. And when you know that about them, now you can market so much more effectively for your business. Take your time, delve into this and really make a difference. It's gonna make you in your marketing. It's gonna give you a much greater return on investment. I hope that was of value to you. So let me take a look, see if there's any questions. If you have questions now, please post them. Let me know, and I'm going to look at them now as we go through it, okay? So let me kind of go through. And what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, is if you don't have a question right now, is what was the one best thing you got out of this session today? If you could just type that in to the side and post it, that'd be great. Not in caps, but just type it and say, hey, the most valuable thing I got out today was, it's just good for me to get that feedback so I know what was good for you. If something that confused you, tell me that as well. And by the way, if something that I said you don't buy, you're saying like, I don't believe you, I think that's bull. Tell me that, challenge me. I'm happy to have that conversation. Okay, so let me look through quick and see if I got any questions going here. I did pretty good. It's like 26 after. It's pretty good so far. Okay, so I have one question here, and it says, I'm going to kind of reword it. So, Frank, how do I find my first targets I want to go after? How do I first find my first verticals? Now, again, I don't know if you have an ongoing business or it's a brand new business, but again, what I'll go back to is if you've been in business for at least a year or two and you have X number of sales that you've done, look at what's the commonality. Is there a commonality between those people or those businesses that have bought your product or service? Okay, more than likely there is if you're noticing it or not. Find out where they came from, why they purchased, what the problem was, and look at their demographics, demographics of the business, if you will, demographics of the person. Okay, and find out about that. See what they're about. But again, the history of your business is going to give you the patterns of where you can start to focus on going forward. Also, look at what we call the low-hanging fruit. What are the easiest things for you to sell? Okay, that people will buy on a regular, or people that buy from you on a regular basis. It may not be the size of the sale that you're really looking for, but there's a consistency there. So what are those people that are buying from there? And then what are the bigger sales that you're trying to make? Do you tend to have trends or tendency there in terms of what's going on with your sales and your marketing? You know, so you have to kind of start with your history of what you're looking for, or best thing would, if you don't know any of that, is go do some research on your industry. Find out who are the people, what are the people, why do they buy your product or service? And if you're in a national association or you go online and do some research, there's all types of research information out there right now that you can find on your target market and who can go after. Otherwise, those questions that I went through, watch the video again, put down the questions that I asked, use that as kind of a worksheet for you. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Again, if you make sure you can type in where you are listening from or watching from, and also the greatest value you got out of the day, I would appreciate it. And we'll have our next session in about 2 weeks. Hope you enjoy it, and thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.